Kajabi is definitely a pro, but it's not doesn't necessarily mean that's where we should be.
Did my camera just turn on for you?
It did, yeah.
What is going on? I can't. Hmm.
It's because I went live. And your camera was scared.
Well, I sent you a link for what we were talking about earlier, so you can have fun with that. Uh, yeah,
Woo!
no, it's it'll be interesting. I think what I was thinking about, after we were kind of looking through things, and it's tough for me because so many of these platforms make it so hard for us to scrape data, even if it's the user's data inside the platform, and it's just an unfortunate. I kind of get why, but if it's like a value add for somebody, why restrict it and why make it difficult? Why not allow it? And so I don't know. I just like when we were going through the Kajabi stuff, it was interesting just how open it is, and you could do so much with it, but you have to do what they want you to do. Like you can't change that experience too much, which is good and bad, right? Because there's maybe you shouldn't, maybe you should. Um, but I was just thinking about it's almost like when we're going through our list of where do we want to start? Do do you start at a point where the product actually allows us to do what we wanted to do out of the box versus having to fiddle with it and come up with workarounds to do it? It's more of like a chicken or the egg thing, or maybe like a higher level thought I had, but I always go there with stuff like, is it even uh, A, is it feasible? I think it is, what we're doing. But B, do we start with an example that's just easy, right? So that we can showcase it versus, because then do you take it to like Kajabi and say, hey, look what we're offering. Like, would you guys like to subscribe to this? And we can build an internet, like work with your design team to build an interface for it, And so I almost wonder if it gives us an opportunity to have a foot in the door to have a better conversation, if that makes sense. Maybe that's too much, but I'm just thinking, as I think through these things and some of the challenges we're going to run into, I wonder if we take too much of a tech approach to it instead of a logical step-by-step business approach. Like, we have something, it works, check it out. Like, we want to integrate it into your site because we see this potential and here's how we can leverage it. But we would need some level of access, and people would have to be able to approve, like, here's this document store, scrape my podcast for text or for audio, scrape my text files for text. You know what I mean? Like my videos, like be able to actually not have to use a Chrome scraper, but actually go in there and, get access to those things. And obviously they have to opt in, but it just seems like when we get to the point where we're doing those, if we're finding we're customizing it so much that it doesn't make sense, I feel like take a step back and say, do we present it in a different way? Is I guess the short way of saying all those words.
Yeah. It looks like so. I might have missed it. Let's see. Can you repeat the very last sentence? Was it kind of a which one do we go with? I was looking at the
No, I think it's get something off the ground, right?
yeah,
Get something in our hands that works. That's not hacked up, works, but works well, right?
yeah,
And take that and show what it can do to a company like Kajabi and say, look, we can build this, we can integrate this, we want to integrate this,
yeah,
we have use cases for this. Here's how it flows, here's how it works, here's the level of data we would need access to, here's what people can opt into and opt out of. It's a working product, baby. Let's go. Like, and it obviously the presentation is different than that, but like, you know what I mean? Like, instead of rowing uphill the whole time and coming up with hack ways to do this, do we take a more kind of in your face approach with the products and see who will partner with us? Because some will and some won't. And the ones that will get the benefit, and the ones that won't will ask later. And it's just the nature of the beast, right?
right.
It's unfortunately we're nobody. And so we have to prove that we're not nobody, because we're not nobody.
Yeah,
We know what we're doing.
yeah. Hmm.
Sorry, I was just long pontification, but I was thinking about that the other day after our last session.
It's basically make sure I understood you. The goal is to prove that we know what we're doing so we can get on someone's radar, see who partners with us.
Yeah. In not waste all of our time trying to make something very near impossible work, I think would be the, you know what I mean? Like, because we're both going to do that. We will both sit down and tackle a problem until we solve it. And I think we have to be careful not to do that with everything. We have to be a little more strategic. Both of us have a lot of things going on, so I want to make sure, it's a good use of our time and we actually have an end result, right? Because that was my only concern, was as I was thinking through, I'm like, I want it to work in there because I can see the potential. Now, how do we show them that potential? I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I think so. For both cases, honestly, now that I'm looking at, well, at least at Zapier and what
Mm-hmm.
Zapier's integrated with ClickFunnels,
Mm-hmm.
it's looking like I. It does look like you can probably query all of the data from ClickFunnels. They treat it as an RSS feed, so it's basically just a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, but it's your very own Facebook. So I suppose it's ClickFunnels kind of went the circle route, where you can
Mm-hmm.
build your own community, and then you have posts and things like that, and you can listen to those posts and respond to them. And each of those posts then can just get immediately turned into a podcast, transcribed into a podcast, right? So from that perspective, ClickFunnels is way more open, way more accessible. API wise, we can just, as long as the bot has authentication to access all course materials, it can kind of just scrape all of it without needing that um, Chrome extension. Excuse me. That would go through all of the courses
Mm-hmm.
on your behalf and create them or like update them for you. So that's interesting to me. I would say if ClickFunnels would let us embed our own widget, Kajabi does. I know Kajabi uses it a little bit janky, but it still lets us do it. And I guess we could download a ClickFunnels trial and see if we can embed custom code widgets into the page. But my guess is honestly going to be that it's not a web designer. It's your content for you. But we can check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just looking at
Lighting.
what?
The light. I need to fix the lighting in this room. Like the backlighting from my screen. Like I try to get like the perfect amount of light coming off my screen, and then I do something like this, and I get click happy. I can't sit still. So I click like I'll tab on things. So it drives everybody. It drives my wife nuts. But I wish there was a way to like get my camera to not like auto tune for color, but like stay at one color. And so I'm wondering if I like backlight better, if it'll just drown it out and always be the same color. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I have some fancy like recording studio lights. I'm gonna just pop those on, and I'm gonna put my green screen up here soon too, and just have like a professional little. It won't look like this anymore. It'll look professional. I like my dad's sign, but I think it's okay if that goes for now. I know it's still there. So
I like your dad's sign too. Maybe you just cut a square out of the green screen so that just shines
yeah,
through.
so I can see it. Yeah, and then when I go over here, it gets all blotchy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be perfect.
that's right.
So just sharing my screen. Can you see this? Just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so just looking at the user Chatii setup flow. We got the customer. They log into our app. Chatii app. They upload their files, their links, their docs, whatever. Right? They style their widget. They copy the code into their website. Boom. So these two steps, ClickFunnels looks like they have a more appropriate API-based way to let us just scrape all of their data. And so this step for ClickFunnels would likely look like a give us the link. We'll get all your data. And then this copy code of the website, that's what we need to know. Because we know we can do it with Kajabi at the very least. We just don't know if we can do it with ClickFunnels. Right? So, and I think something that's important for us to determine is the long-term goal for us to partner with one of these companies like ClickFunnels, Kajabi, or another Circle. I think is someone we might be able to potentially work with.
I don't know if it's to partner with them. I think it's to get a direct integration with them more than anything, so that we can directly integrate into their platform. You could call it partnering. Some will call it partnering. Some will just call it a direct integration. But like when you go to their plugin page or their partner page, like it would be nice to be listed on there as an option that they could drag and drop into their site, right? That's, to me, that's a goal. Because without that, we're just hacking our way through it, right? And that's fine, right? We're both pretty good at finding our ways out of a plastic bag, or a paper bag. But yeah, I would think that, to me, that would be a really good goal, because that shows that people want it. I mean, that's a very obvious takeaway from that. And B, you get one of those, others are going to want it too. And we're very easy to say, if you want it, here's our form, fill it out, and we'll get back to you. Like it just changes the conversation to, instead of us knocking everybody's door down, you have the opportunity for somebody to knock your door down, which is the best place to be when you're in the driver's seat. I don't know if you call it a power play, but to me, it's like a power play. Like, look what we did. People love it. Look at the feedback. You want it too? Get in line, and then that creates your demand, right? Your demand for your product. I can hear the 20 years of listening to really smart people coming out of my mouth sometimes. I just like saying it my own way. I wish I could say it like them. I just can't because it's not me. But yeah, I think it's, what is it? What does success look like to you? Is what I always say. What does success look like to you?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last
Mm-hmm.
week we both talked about how just selling this off might be a fun, or we
Mm-hmm.
build it and we just immediately sell it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not opposed to that idea at all, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the long-term goal, I would say I'd love to sell it to Kajabi, so they can integrate it into their platform, because I use Kajabi.
Yep. No, I know. And that's why it's a good one. And that's why I wish it was a little bit easier to work with inside of it, right?
Yeah.
That's the part where we have to be strategic on how we get into their, like, they're not going to take a conversation with us, right? I mean, why would they? It would be a waste of their time, right? But if we can show
Not
them what we're
necessarily,
doing.
actually. I might be able to get in a conversation with some people who make a lot of money using Kajabi. And again, if we
Mm-hmm.
can get them to use the product,
Mm-hmm.
showcase its greatness,
Mm-hmm.
and they get even more raving fans because of it, because they have this AI chatbot that sits in their course, and you can ask it questions like, "Where is this in the course?" and just takes you straight there,
Mm-hmm.
or teaches you or something like that, right? I feel like if we can get people like that, then we'd be in a pretty good spot. And from a Kajabi standpoint, I do have some connections with people who have things like that. So
So maybe, yeah,
that,
that's
that
another.
might be a
Hey, if
way
you've got
on
connections,
Kajabi side.
that's the best.
Yeah,
Connections put you to the front of the line. Doesn't mean you don't come prepared. It just means it's a lot easier to get in there. And if you've got people who are demanding it, who actually generate revenue on a platform, they're more apt to listening to that, right? They may not care, but they'll at least get you in the door. And sometimes you never know what you need until you see it in front of you and it's working, right? it's weird to say that, but I miss stuff all the time, and I find myself to be a pretty savvy person, and I still miss
Well,
things, and so
yeah, it's like one of the things that set Steve Jobs apart was he had this ability to not only see what could be, but to see the impact of what could be.
Mhm,
And everyone else missed that. And so he made the
mhm,
iPhone, the first version of the iPhone.
mhm,
This is what could be.
yep,
This is what will be. Not only
mhm,
what could be, but what will be in the long run. And
mhm,
just blew people away. And thus began the smartphone development craze that has led
mhm,
to all these smartphones today. So yes, there are very few people who, if you take them out of their field of understanding and into a new one, that they can see the potentials and
mhm.
see the impact from those potentials. It's like AI is such a new thing that people kind of, I would say, they struggle to grasp why or how it can be
Mhm.
useful in their own life.
Yeah.
I was talking with my uncle last night, and he was like, "Why would I use it?" I was like, "Do you have any files you would like to ask questions about? Any legal documents, for example? Drop that PDF into GPT-4 and ask it a question."
Mhm.
There's also tons of other things. If you want to change your voice, if you want to write a book, there are guys who are using ChatGPT to write books. And so my uncle whipped out ChatGPT on his phone and he wrote an 8 chapter book in about 45 seconds. And he was like, "All right, this is pretty cool. I'm okay." I get why this is useful. So they kind of, it was surprising to me actually that he hadn't at least given it a shot at this point.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to see him try it and realize the value of it. And we're probably going to be in the same boat with these course makers who,
Mhm.
they might be a little bit wary of AI because they're saying,
Mhm.
this is going to replace me. It's like, no, it's not going to replace you. It's going to amplify you. And let me show you how.
Yep. Indeed, it will.
All right, I'm signing up for ClickFunnels and it's forcing me to do the pro monthly plan. I don't
Ah,
want to do that,
of
but
course
I'm
it
going to start
is.
my free trial. 14-day free trial. All right, get me started, you chumps. Submit faster. My workspace will be ready in about 3 minutes. They're going to send me an email? Dude, these guys. I have to wait 3 whole minutes. This is horrible.
It's a long time, actually.
That is quite a long time. They're probably doing quite a bit to get things set up. Well, on that note, so for example, with Kajabi, I'm going to be going to an event next week on Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, November 1st. And I suspect that there are many, many people at that event who use Kajabi.
Mhm.
Many people. And many of those people will likely have courses. And they might want an AI that they can use to amplify that course and let people talk to it. So I'll just spread the idea around and see how many people want it. And if people want it,
Mhm.
I can return a report next Thursday. Like, yeah, pretty much every single person that I talk to, and they're making, yeah, 5 million per month, want this, and they said they'd be willing to pay X amount for it. So if we get some bites there, and I can get some numbers, I feel like Kajabi is likely going to be the path to take.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense.
Well,
It
actually,
does.
especially if we might be able to get something up and running before Thursday next week.
You're funny.
Okay, never mind then.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's probably not that hard, right? I mean, we're tapping into something that exists, encoding something. I mean, a lot of times those initial starts to get data in don't take us long at all. I mean, that's not the hard part. The hard part is turning it into like a full blown product, right?
Yeah.
Getting it to a state where, I mean, I don't know about you, but like if I sat down for 2 hours, for example, and I had 2 hours of no distractions and I really was determined to get something done, I probably could whip up something in those 2 hours to start the data collection process and or pass data into GPT, for example, like we talked about. And so maybe maybe like a simple little Chrome extension or whatever you're thinking about for this feed, but maybe I never say never. I'm thinking of myself like, when am I going to find 2 hours to sit down?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I will.
I mean, as I'm kind of
That's
thinking
how I
about
think about it.
yeah, I mean, as I'm kind of thinking about it, I'm wondering. Hmm, because I definitely think it's possible that I could set up an AI bot to chat with my course. So
Hmm.
just, I mean, as I'm looking at these steps, it's honestly, I'm thinking it's not that hard. I mean, I already have a really dumb looking version of that chatbot that just pops up on my
Hmm.
course now, or that I can add to my course so people can talk to it. So I'm looking at that. And I'm like, okay, I already have some UI for that. I already have a URL that it can send the request to. So I just need to set up a really simple server and then make sure that server has all the files, just a summary of all of the different modules in my course, and we're good to go, right? So
Hmm.
the main thing that I need to put in place then is what would it be? The Chrome extension
Hmm.
that scrapes all of the data from my course and summarizes it. We need to give that a name. Our
Summarizer.
summarizer. Summarizey.
That's the wrong tense, though, isn't it?
Summarizer? Summarizey?
Summarize isn't that the wrong tense?
Now summarize.
I'm not the grammar pro. I'm not. I talk to Grammarly all the time. I'm just going to point that out. I just, oh, my conversations with Grammarly are pretty epic, actually.
Really?
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Do
actually, yeah.
correct them?
I actually do sometimes because they're just wrong. Like if you actually say what they're putting down on paper out loud, you're just like, you know, that may be the proper way, but it's dumb. It's just dumb and nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that. Nobody. And so I fix them and I take the errors and I move on with my life because anybody reading that's gonna be like, oh, this guy just went to a bot and got this. I do not like even when I tell GPT, like if I want it to type something up for me, I'm like, here's what I've got. I want you to fix the grammar, fix my formatting, but make it sound like me. Like I don't want it to sound overly professional and overly perfect, right? Let
Yep.
there be some slang in there, and you just give it instructions, and it does a pretty good job. And then I modify it a little bit so that it's still me, right? I want their content. I don't want to spend hours coming up with that and format and all that crap. I don't want to. I don't have to do any of that. But I still want it to sound like me, right? So when I proof it, I make some changes, and then I throw it in Grammarly, and Grammarly's like, "Hey, by the way," and I'm like, "Okay, I must be good because it's complaining." Um, that's how I view. I love Grammarly. I don't knock them at all. It's hard for me to tune that one in. It just kind of flies off the rails. It's too perfect. Their product
Right.
is too good. And I wish there was like a dial that says not good enough. Like that would be where I would live. Like,
Allow for
not,
some slang.
yeah. Yeah.
Let
I
me,
think you can tweak it, but
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
mhm.
All right. Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, given the fact that I could potentially meet with a couple of people next week on Wednesday, I'm remembering now it is Wednesday, and present to them the greatness of this idea.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of want to see if I can get everything ready for it by that point in time. Let me look at my calendar.
You're like, uh, you probably can. Like I said, I think an initial, and you've got your site. Um,
I mean, the hardest part of all of this, I feel like, for me at least, would be just getting the course together, getting all the materials for the course together, and the fact that I've already done that, it makes it much, much easier. So right now, my next Wednesday is completely free. Or my next Monday, Monday the 30th, right now is completely free. Never mind, I had a meeting that I forgot about. But that's a lot of time, man.
mhm.
I can get a lot of crap done in that amount of time.
I understand.
This week is pretty free. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna go whole hog on this Kajabi thing and just see how far I can get. See if I can make it presentable, workable, usable by Wednesday next week, and then I have something to showcase.
Yeah. Are you doing it
Chatty,
chatty?
chatty.
Okay. Are you gonna do it? You're gonna do it in a Chrome extension then?
Yeah, I'm gonna build a Chrome extension that'll let me scrape a course.
Okay.
Just I can't think of a better way to do it. I'll be honest.
No, I think that's the best way right now. I don't know that it's ever gonna be a better way for us, but
Yeah.
I think that's a good.
Unless Kajabi can open up some APIs that let us query.
Exactly.
So I'm just gonna build a
Yep.
Chrome extension, scrape the course, use that to summarize information, maybe request video uploads so that I can transcribe those videos and get all the text from them and summarize that text as well. Because I know my course has a lot of information in videos and less information in text.
Just text. The only other thing we would need to test then is audio to text would be the only other thing. But if video to text works, I think audio to text is easier. So
Yeah, I mean they're both two peas in the same pod, right? I'm
yeah,
assuming
yeah,
I just look is this a video or is it an audio? And depending on which it is, I'll just well,
sounds good.
I use OpenAI Whisper or something similar to transcribe it, and we're good to go.
Works for me. If you need a hand on it, I do have some time. I was just thinking like I sometimes in my head it sounds bigger than it is. But if are you doing it in the Chrome extension? Are you doing it in Java or are you doing it in your Flutter Flow thing?
I'll do it in Java just for simplicity. I mean, honestly,
Well, if you need a hand, that's my that's my jungle. I just can't format anything, but I can help you if you need a hand on that.
okay. Um, I'm breaking down the steps. We need to be able to scrape and summarize.
Summarize.
And that's about it. I'd say
Mhm.
You have access to my course, my PAC course, don't you?
I do.
Okay. I think the best thing to do then would just be if you want to build the Chrome extension for that, I can spin up some AWS services that like a bucket that
Mhm.
stores all of your files, a Lambda function that has access to that bucket, and also the summary that you're going to create that I can pass into something like GPT-3 to point in the right direction.
Mhm. Makes sense. Just taking a note.
Okay. Yeah. We've got like 14, 13 more minutes left on this call. I can just go and duplicate some of my old projects that have an AWS stack with the
Mhm.
Lambda function. And we shouldn't need more than a lambda function.
Mm-mm.
Maybe. Right. Yeah, I don't. It's not worth it setting up an actual server for all this.
No,
Not at the.
no, if we can eliminate that, yeah, yeah, no.
So we do need a bucket to slap some data in. So okay. VS Code, my old friend.
Sounds good.
Open recent. Do I have anything recent? Yeah. Do you need the link to my course?
I don't think so. I think I have it still.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in my history somewhere, anyways.
Okay. I'm curious. I don't think Kajabi lets you download a video.
Just stream it. Yeah. Can stream scrape it. That sounds terrible,
Yeah,
but
that would take forever.
yeah, yeah.
That's not.
They probably.
That's not optimal.
Mm-mm.
I would say if you detect that it needs a video, if the scraper detects that it needs a video, it just flags it, and then says, "Hey, you're gonna need to upload a video for this service,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, might be
for this
easier.
module. Upload a video, or upload this module's video, something like that. Just basically so we can get the actual video from it."
Yep. Sounds like a plan, Stan.
I'm gonna write this in our bookends ClickUp.
Clicky. I was just going through our original notes we took on this to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Is it looking good?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. As long as we're sticking to the plan, I think it's a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to deviate, but I know we're right on track. So
Uh,
it's good for me. Anything else you want to cover today?
Not really. I think it's time to just get cracking on this.
Yep,
Something
yep.
that works and can be extended to other platforms. Because I mean, I think the only thing that really changes at the end of the day is how we scrape the data.
Hmm.
Everything else is the same. How we store your data on our end so the AI is aware of everything and can answer your questions and
Hmm.
route you to the right place. That doesn't change. So if we
No.
can get a good idea or build that structure out, I guess your summary that is kind of a data structure that would be good to figure out.
Hmm.
A
Hmm.
list. Is that all we need? Or do you think we need to get more specific than that?
I don't think we need to get more specific. It should like yeah, I feel like it runs everything like it's gonna top down. So list is good. We're gonna feed we're gonna feed this into our bot. It's gonna summarize it and then respond to the person, right? I got that flow right in my head. I feel like that's it. So
And
display
so
back.
the way that I see it right now is that the goal of the okay, so we have a lot of information in the course.
Hmm.
The goal of the scraper, Chatty Scrape, call it Chatty Scrape. The goal of Chatty
Hmm.
Scrape is to take all that information and summarize it. So all that information is stored in a tree structure in
Hmm.
terms of modules. And this is true in every community and course I have encountered thus far. So I think it's okay to assume, I mean, it's just a dictionary at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And so they're stored into a tree structure that goes 2 to 3 layers deep.
Hmm.
And what we want to do is summarize, I suppose, just take each module and create a summary for each of those modules
Hmm.
so that from Chatty, so Chatty Scrape would create that tree structure, each link pointing to a summary of what that link has. And then that's kind of our indexing process. We store that document, whether as a JSON or just an old file. At the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. As long as we have each link and its summary, we can then feed that back into the chatbot to have it answer questions and
Makes sense.
or at least point you in the right direction. Would be kind of
Hmm.
phase one. I think a phase two is it would attempt to answer the question based on the page that it found. So we have this indexed document. Here's all of the modules in the course. Here's a quick summary of each. And when you ask a question, it passes that entire thing into an AI, and the AI says, "Where am I most likely to find this? To find the
Hmm.
answer." It returns a link. The AI goes and grabs all the text from that link, attempts to answer the question, and says, "If you want to learn more, look at this." It actually
Yeah.
provides the link.
Yeah. No, that flow makes sense. Yeah, it's logical.
Yeah. So
Nice and easy.
those are the steps that I'm thinking we're going to go through,
Okay.
which means yeah, let me I'll just call it a summarizer.
I like that word.
Yeah. So it's gonna find all modules and get their links. Create a summary for each link. Store it with link itself. All text and files. Okay, so find all modules and get their links. Create a summary for each link and store it with the link itself.
Are you gonna store that data in S3? Is that the idea?
That's my plan right now, yeah. Since they're all going to be blobs, they're not going to be, there's no structure to them.
Yep.
So if you upload a video, if you upload audio file, if you upload a PDF, I'll just put them here.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, like Mongo and other NoSQL databases, I feel like these files would be too big, to be honest. You'd have to chunk them all up. It's not worth it. I mean, S3 and
Yeah,
Mongo
I
pretty
don't.
much look the same to me. It's weird.
Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't want to use Mongo for this. The only thing that
Oh,
you
no.
might consider
No.
using Mongo for is the summary, where each link points to the summary. But even then, it's just,
Yeah.
I feel like we could simplify things and just say it's a file, and we read
Yep.
that file. Here we go. Instead of
Like I said,
needing,
it's the same thing. So it doesn't really
yeah,
matter. I mean, if you're doing blob sort, I mean, you're basically talking the same thing. I mean, conceptually, same thing. It's obviously different, but yeah, that's cool. No, I think this is I was going to say AWS makes an S3 bucket makes the most sense, in my opinion, too.
okay. So from my perspective, then on my side, I need to create an AWS function that you can call that lets you upload files.
Mm-hmm.
All right, easy enough.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, create a new bucket and upload files. That's interesting. Okay, I've never done that before. Because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be creating a new bucket every time you create a new course. So you're either creating. I'm just going to assume you're uploading to a bucket that already exists.
That's fine. I'm sure you could also tack on a command if you get a request. Isn't there triggers in there that you can run like a create? Like could you not create a bucket based on a trigger? I thought you could. I could be mixing something up in GCP, but I'm pretty sure because you're running these through Lambda functions. I'm pretty sure you could set up a trigger in there too. Yeah, you gotta setting up a bucket like that would be tough anyways. So I think, yeah, I would
Yeah.
do what you're doing and assume it exists because you're talking a different level of effort there to start automating that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, something that I did before is in college, I actually set up a system that would create a new EC2 instance every time you made a request.
Gotcha.
And once I actually got down to it, it wasn't overly difficult. It was just, I didn't really want to do it. I was like, is there not a service that just lets me do this? And no, the answer was no, there wasn't. And so I kind of needed to build my own elastic compute cloud on top of AWS because I wanted everyone to have their own dedicated server because I was running their code
Yeah.
a little bit like Replit. And, infinite loops, they crash things. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working with students who would want to do that. So I didn't want them to be able to interrupt another person's sandbox. So everyone needed their own sandbox.
Indeed, they did.
Yeah, so, okay. That's all right. I'm just going to assume that you have to create a new project inside of our application, and the new project has all the stuff.
Yep.
It's like you create a new project, that creates your new bucket, then you upload things to that project, which uploads to the bucket.
Like a batch job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I got this.
Cool. You got
Heck
this.
yeah. Let's go.
Easy. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's not hard. It's just time.
No, I mean, honestly, with AI, plus I've already got most of it working. Like I've already got the ability to deploy a Lambda function plus bucket straight to AWS in one click right now. So I'm not super worried about it. It should happen really, really fast. I just need to update the Lambda function so that it queries information in the bucket. So I'm just working on the chatbot. Chatbot functionality. So this should be fun. Let's do this. Okay.
All right.
All right, Amir. Have an awesome
We'll
day.
talk to you in a couple
An
days.
absolute
All right. Yep. As always. Take it easy, bud.
Yeah.
All right.